March 14th, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. We'll start with roll call.
Kerper.
Here.
Steffen.
Here.
Moriarty.
Here.
Conlon.
Here.
Moran.
I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did everybody have a chance to review and approve the February 2024 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion to open a public hearing on the proposed.
Can you have a motion for the minutes, though?
Please.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to open the public hearing on the proposed rezoning of 108 Second Avenue Southwest and the vacant lot to the east of 108 from R1 Single Family Residential to C2 General Retail.
I'll make the motion to open the hearing. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll maybe introduce the topic, and then I think Monica wants to speak as well. So we have 3 lots, as you know, that we purchased. There was the vacant lot, which was the eastern of the 3, and then where the 2 homes were prior to that, which have now been demolished. And those are the ones that are under consideration. So we can still have a parking lot on the other end that doesn't need to be rezoned. But if you look at R1 zoning, it allows things like churches and schools, but it doesn't talk about a building that would allow a library. So when you look, in your packet, you should have the C2 zoning, and the appropriate one I highlighted would be public and community buildings. Obviously, when we concern ourselves with the spot zoning, across the alley is the C2. And so this would be, the correct, keeping the flow there. We sent out the notices. You should have had the list of who we sent it to. We did have some communication with the 2 gentlemen that live straight across on Second Avenue and Pierce Street, that big white historic house that's by the
Okay.
power plant. Went back and forth with them with lots of questions. When we first did the plans, we had talked about the angled parking. There's gonna be angled parking on Pierce. We had talked about that being on Second Avenue, which would be straight across from their house. They had expressed concern about that, so we moved it around the corner for them, and that was back a year ago, probably. So they just had a couple questions that we went back and forth. They had talked about maybe calling in, but I think they were satisfied afterwards with our questions. One of the things they were concerned is like, is sort of the makeup of Second Avenue gonna change? Like, are you gonna have parking, like yellow lines down the middle and parking stalls painted? And none of that is part of the plan. Like, I confirmed with FEH, like, nothing in our bid is meant to be that way, so. So they all seemed, they said by the end, we're on the same page, we're supportive of the library. So they're the only ones that I heard from. Marie or Monica, do you want to speak? Is that okay?
I'm Monica Waker. I'm Marie Thomas. Here we are at the library, and we're here to hear your motion on changing zoning from R1 to C2. Personally, I don't know a lot about zoning. We're learning a lot about everything changed to our new building. There's just one thing to run as smoothly as it can.
We think it will be a great enhancement, and in our minds, we always see it as a part of a residential, that it was one of the goals that we had in setting up the place for the library, was that it was walkable and that it was in the part of the community that they want to keep it in this area. So we would like it zoned properly so that we have everything done properly for our new wonderful building.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any questions for them? Or?
I don't have any questions. There was only one other opposition, and that was settled, that's correct?
Yeah, and it really wasn't even opposition. I would
Okay.
just say like questions. And then
Okay.
the last email that was about 4 o'clock today, because they had said, is there a way to like participate? They live in Florida.
Okay.
To come back for the summer. And so we went back and forth. I even included Marie and Monica on some of the questions just so they saw from the library board. But went back and forth, and by the end, they said, you know what? And the whole time they had said we're supportive of the library. They were just concerned about parking. And so by the end, their words were, you know, we're in agreement, we're on the same page, we appreciate you taking the time today to answer our questions.
Is the parking only closer to Buchanan Street, or will there also be parking towards Pierce Street?
So.
I was a little bit confused on that.
Yeah, so there's angled, well, let me just draw it up here. So when you have, I'll just do it over here. You know how, so this will be Buchanan, and then Second, and Pierce. And then the park would be over here.
Yep,
So right here, you know how it gets really sardined when you have events? So one of the things that we looked at, and there's gonna be, right here, the curb will be cut out, and this will become angled parking instead of people just parking like this, parallel.
gotcha.
So that'll provide, I think it was maybe 10 or 12 extra spots that you can fit more people this way than if they're just parking that way. And then what we also talked about was during events, when you have like, say, a food truck or something, instead of them being forced to stay just between the curb, you've like widened the curb, and like some of the trucks could be over here, so you'd have more walking space, like when you come to Hometown Days or things like that. So this street doesn't change, but this street is just this angle, and again, it's inside our lot, it's not invading the street more, it's just the rear of your car would be poked to where, like where that is. And then this, you know how this parking lot is now?
Yes.
Where you have angled parking like this.
Yep.
And then you can drive in, and there's the road that goes like this, and then the road that goes like this towards where Arlene Iserman's house was.
Yep.
So now there'll be another row like this that meets that, and then you'll park this way, and then this is the building. So there's 2 more rows of parking, to your point, you said closer to Buchanan. So 2 more rows here, and then we're also looking at purchasing a house lot over here in collaboration with the Brian Bach old brewery building to try and also put more parking on the other
Okay.
side. Just because obviously, it obviously creates more pressure, right?
Right.
Doesn't he have to provide parking for the apartments?
Unfortunately, not in that.
Really?
We don't, when you're C2, you don't technically have to. So like, just like everybody downtown, you know, you can live above a store and you might not have parking, so.
So the extra parking you got on this side by Pierce Street, yeah, really is not gonna be, for an event, it's not gonna be useful anyway. It's gonna be blocked off on both ends.
If you had an event there, yes.
Yeah.
It would be more to like widen the space where the vehicles can be, because so much of the time you have the food trucks there.
Sure, I understand the other.
So, yeah. And then we figured like if there's library events, it's just another way for us to provide a little bit more instead of just, and then here, you know, the people live here that have called today. So this will still just be parallel parking. There's no restrictions on the parking right now, so. And I don't think, like I said, we're not gonna encourage, they were concerned about like the, you know, when you have like the white lines that give you your little spaces.
Yeah.
But we don't even have that plan.
And I know this doesn't pertain to this, but the brewery that's going in, shouldn't that be like a multifamily or a multi-resident instead of a C2?
So C2, you're allowed to have residents upstairs, and there is commercial space downstairs. Like where the food pantry, I think that northern part of the building, and then to the center. So there's basement
Yeah.
residential, and then everything upstairs, which I think is technically a second and a third floor, because you know how it goes.
And a tunnel.
Yeah.
Do you, the parking there, what's there, 12 units in that building? And you have to supply, the city has to actually kind of make 24 units, but you should have 2 vehicles per unit.
Yeah. I mean, that's why there's gonna be,
Yeah.
the goal is to get another one of the properties, it hasn't been closed on yet, but another parcel to be able to even create more parking,
On the yellow house on the other side of that. Okay.
a different one.
So Lisa, we're rezoning 3 lots, not 2, the 2 houses that were torn down.
And the
That's-
vacant one towards the
But
park.
the vacant one, is the library going to be a part of the vacant one? Or?
It's in a tiny sliver of it. So we thought it best to just make it all 3.
Okay.
You're going to zone all 3 of them to.
That's
to
what we're
match, yeah,
requesting,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. That's what I thought.
If you might have heard what happened with the Board of Adjustment, so technically they gave a variance. So obviously if somebody bought 3 houses,
Yeah.
3 houses, or 3 lots and wanted to put them together and build across them, like you have to combine them. Unfortunately, the assessing law prevented 2 of, like the the western 2 where the houses were, are now combined. And then there's like 1 little foot that goes over the line of the vacant lot. And the TIF law, because they were put into TIF at 2 different times, you cannot combine them because you have the base year, like, we don't have to get into all that, but there's the base year. And so basically, the assessor won't legally let you. So when the variance was given, we have to record something on there legally. We're going to record a document on there that says they can never be sold as separate parcels, because that's where you get into, like, you can't cross over a line so that it never could be. So it's being, we're creating a document with the attorneys that'll get recorded that, again, like, why would we ever sell it if a library is going to be there for 50 years? But who knows? Crazier things have happened. So that is being recorded as a legal document, because the hardship there was the law doesn't allow us to combine it, and everything else on the exterior lot lines is compliant. It was just that interior one that really doesn't affect anybody because we own them both. So that's what we were doing. So you might have heard about that. That's where TIF, somebody asked me about TIF, and that was before the Board of
Does the
Adjustment.
city own, who owns the actual library? Library board own the library, city own the library?
It has to be the city.
You don't have to have zoning for city, do you? Anything you want to put in? I thought you could put, city could do whatever they didn't.
I've never heard that, so
Oh,
that's why we're
I
going
heard
through the
that
process.
City
I
did.
mean, maybe people don't worry about it, but I would think it's most proper to,
Oh, yeah.
So the city is basically gonna own that entire piece between Buchanan and Pierce, correct?
because we already own the parking lot.
Okay,
We own them all now. But previous to this purchase of the 3 lots, we owned the parking lot.
okay.
And it wasn't, I think that was repaved shortly before I came, right? Maybe like a summer or 2 before.
I think so.
BL.
I don't know if they expanded it or it was,
It's BL,
yes, BL.
yeah, before lease.
They say before lease. That's what the staff, we talk about BL.
All right.
Now you know.
I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
Yeah. So, yeah, so we think that, to your point, Rick, I guess, like, who's gonna police us, but I don't think it's, my opinion would be it isn't the best to do that. You know, to be able to say, oh, we'll just do whatever we want, like, we wanna go through the same process and make sure that.
Yeah, I was always under the understanding that the city could put a building wherever they wanted to, in any zoning they wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know. But then when you look at the fact that, like, it allows for or doesn't allow for public buildings, that would seem
Yeah.
contrary. But this made the most sense. It wasn't spot zoning. It helps us with making sure that we're compliant, so. The council will have their public hearing at their next meeting next Monday, so, not next Monday, 2 Mondays.
Anyone got anything else to talk about in the public hearing? If not, we'll need a motion
I'll
to,
make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Consideration of recommendation to the city council on ordinance number 0824, rezoning 108 Second Avenue Southwest from R1 Single Family to C2 General Retail. Someone want to make a recommendation to the city council to get that done?
I'll make the recommendation. Get that done.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So there's one more thing that I put in, I think it's in your packet, isn't it? The stuff about the training.
Yes.
So, you know, sometimes we go through, thank you, ladies. We go through these processes about what everybody's authority is, and my opinion is we can always do better to help you understand what there is for zoning. So I reached out first to the League of Cities, and they sent me towards Iowa State University. There's this gentleman named Luke Seberg, and he's provided me that there's these sessions that we could send you to, which were the dates in April. I think it's less likely to try, and also, by the way, this is for the Board of Zoning, or Board of Adjustments as well, where there's things that would overlap between the two of you. So he said that we could either just have people randomly sign up and see who wants to go, and then you have to drive these places, or for $750, we can have up to 20 of you, which would certainly cover both this commission and the other board, and they would come in and do our own training here in the city, which to me, I felt like we had a better chance of it being less inconvenient for all of you. I think the Board of Adjustment had their meeting 2 weeks ago for this library thing, so they just had met first, and they were not against it. They weren't all like, oh my gosh, we have to have this, but they said if he came here, And we were talking in May because of his busy schedule with April, maybe May or June, or it could be later than that. Even if you wanted to wait till fall or something. But he just couldn't do it in April. And so you kind of see the list of the types of topics that get covered. You know, the Board of Adjustment also felt like there's more relevancy to this group than there is to theirs, but it would certainly be beneficial for everybody. So, looking just for feedback from you at this point.
How long is the session gonna be? Is it from
They
8
said it
to
was-
8, or is it?
No. They said 2.5 to 3 hours. And the variance of that half hour is more just based on questions. Like if you have a lot of questions, it might be 3 hours. He was willing to do it like on an evening, like they could come at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and we could be done by 8. Just do it in here, kind of set up a big table, and he would go through the different things,
But
so.
they said we have to have 20 people?
No, you can have up to for that price. So if I had 40 people, I'm gonna pay more. But if I have 5 people to 20 people, it's $750.
Okay.
So if you look at like sending each of you to the individual class, if we had the full group, it's no more expensive. If only 2 people came, yeah, it's cheaper to say,
Yeah.
go somewhere. But I just don't think it's easy. You know, some of you still work, some of you are retired. Board of Adjustment, many of them are still working, so I just thought like, it doesn't seem very easy to,
We should have some city council actually sit in
yes, we can do that as well.
I mean, because that's, when we
Yep.
make a recommendation, it has to go to them. If they don't understand, our meeting's kind of wasted, so.
Exactly. Yep, and so again, if you take, there's 5 of you, 5 on the board, so that's 10, and even if we had the council and me, we'd still be under our 20. So we just try to pick a date that's as convenient as it can be for everybody if you're interested.
I
Any
would
thoughts?
definitely be interested. I think that it would be a great thing, anytime that you can learn something.
Yeah, and I just feel like
And
we
know
all like,
more.
good luck. Thanks for being on the board, good luck, right?
Right.
So,
This is, I went to one of these a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's just
As long
basic
as we don't have
101,
to
which you
drive
need
over
to
to
know
Cedar
basic
Rapids
stuff.
at
right. And the ideal would be if we could try to get, you know, we put an ad out there for planning and zoning, and there's a vacancy coming on the utility board, but of course, no one applies. I've tried to think about people to like ask, and you know, as you know, it's not a huge commitment. Sometimes it's a little unpopular, but
Right.
it's just not something that is on people's top of their thing to put on their resume, right? But ideally, if we could find another body or 2 to fill the spots, it would be nice to do that before. Is anybody opposed?
No.
I am not opposed to this at
Okay.
all.
Do you think we would be better to wait until the summer's over, or do you think like a May, June, or when people get busy? Obviously, we would do a weekday, but do you think it's better to wait till the fall or try to do it more like in May?
How much building's gonna be going on between now and then that you're gonna need?
You get into fall, and a lot of people start traveling a lot, too.
Yeah,
As the leaves are turning, we're going all
it's all
across the
pretty,
country.
right? Yeah. It's up to you guys. He just said he can't do April, that was the only thing.
Throw some dates out there and we'll see what happens, I
I
guess.
think he talked about a Tuesday or a Thursday. So, I think we were looking at an in May, so, yeah, I can send some dates out to you guys and,
But he's talking May, or May or June.
he just threw me May dates, but I said if you don't want it in May,
He's better off, I think, in May than June,
before it gets
Yeah.
fun summer days,
before people start planning vacation.
that too, yeah, at least the kids for, not that most of you have school-age kids, but,
For me right now, I'd say Tuesday or Thursday's okay. I just
okay.
don't know exactly which one.
Yeah.
Check.
I have to go back and look. I feel like I should have checked that. I feel like the board had an idea, but
Well, you probably record this, won't you?
yeah, we certainly can.
Well, that way it'd be in. If somebody does miss it,
Yeah, we could definitely say like, then watch it.
yeah.
That's a good
Yeah, and
idea.
if we can have his contact, we can always send him questions.
Yep. Yeah, and we would obviously just post it as a joint meeting of all of the groups. You know, we'd say a joint meeting of the council, the board, and the commission, and then it's legal, and it's technically open if.
Would economic development get anything out of it? If you had to fill the spots, I mean,
Yeah, we'd probably give the 3 of you and make sure
yeah.
we're not full. And I think even if it's more, he probably just charges a little bit per person.
That's a lot of money.
So I think he brings paper, and I think he talked about like when they do the These other ones, they do like a little light lunch or, you know, like a little meal. So if you're coming at 5, we could do the same, just have a sandwich or pizzas or something.
Do it Thursday and get mosque.
Yes, that too. All right, so if
Do you need
anybody's,
a motion or anything on this?
No.
No?
I just wanted to get your input. We'll probably do it then because nobody's opposed, so stay tuned, that's all.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna go
Or you're-
shut off the cameras. I will get it.
Oh, they shut that thing off over there now instead of back in here. Well.